The rain fell in sheets across Maple Street, washing away the last traces of daylight. Officer Marcus Reed pulled his patrol car to the curb, squinting through the downpour at something huddled beneath a street lamp. At first, he thought it might be discarded trash, another casualty of the storm. But when it moved, he reached for his flashlight. "Dispatch, this is Unit 17. I'm stopping to check on something on Maple and 4th. The beam cut through the rain, illuminating matted fur and frightened eyes. A dog, no, barely more than a skeleton with skin, pressed itself against the pole. Blood mingled with rainwater around its right front paw. Marcus approached slowly, crouching low. "Hey there, buddy. It's okay." The dog growled, a hollow sound that held more fear than threat. Its ribs protruded sharply against rain-slicked fur, and a network of scars crisscrossed its flank. One ear was partially torn, and its tail tucked firmly between its legs. "I'm not going to hurt you," Marcus murmured, reaching into his pocket for the half-eaten sandwich he'd saved from lunch. He placed it on the ground and stepped back. The dog's nose twitched, but it remained frozen. Its eyes, amber and intelligent despite the fear, never left Marcus's face. "Take your time." Rain soaked through Marcus's uniform as he waited. 15 minutes passed, his radio crackling with the night's usual calls. A domestic dispute on Hillcrest. Teenagers loitering at the convenience store. The rhythm of small-town policing that Marcus had known for his 7 years on the force. Finally, hunger overcame fear. The dog inched forward on its belly, movement awkward and pained. It snatched the sandwich and retreated, but not as far this time. Progress. Marcus noticed a frayed rope hanging from its neck, the fibers worn and dirty. Someone didn't treat you right, did they? He thought of the empty apartment waiting for him, silent since Leah had left 6 months ago. "I know what it's like when someone gives up on you," he said softly. By the time backup arrived, Marcus had coaxed the dog close enough to slip his jacket around its trembling body. The animal's resistance had faded to exhausted acceptance. "Jesus, Reed, it's just a stray," Officer Dawson said, shaking his head as he stepped from his cruiser. "Animal control can handle it tomorrow." "Look at him, Pete." Marcus carefully lifted the bundle, feeling bones beneath his fingers. "Someone did this. And that rope. I think he was tied up somewhere." So we've had those break-ins over on Elmwood? 3 houses, all with the same MO? What if our guy had a dog as a lookout or something?" Dawson snorted, wiping rain from his face. "Now you're making up crime-solving dogs? Maybe you should lay off the detective novels?" "Not crime-solving. Crime involved," Marcus insisted, feeling the dog's trembling subside slightly against his chest. There was something about this animal, something in those amber eyes that spoke of a story untold. "I'm taking him to Dr. Klein's emergency clinic. Log it as potential evidence." "Your funeral. Captain's gonna love this," Dawson called after him. But Marcus was already placing the dog gently in the back seat of his patrol car. The veterinary clinic's lights cast a sterile glow as Dr. Sarah Klein examined the dog. Her face was grim as her practiced hands moved carefully over the trembling animal. "Multiple contusions, severe malnutrition, and this paw is badly infected. I'm amazed he's still walking." She peered closer at dark patches on the dog's back. "He's also got chemical burns here and along his sides." "Chemical burns?" "Consistent with household cleaners. Bleach, most likely." Dr. Klein's expression hardened. "Deliberate, I'd say. This wasn't an accident, Officer Reed." Marcus felt a surge of anger. Who would do that to an animal? "Someone who deserves to be caught," she replied simply. "There's more. See these marks around his muzzle? Someone kept him tied up, muzzled tight, probably to keep him from barking." Her gentle fingers palpated the dog's paws. "And there's glass embedded in his pads. I'll need to remove it surgically." Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. "Glass? Like from a broken window?" "Could be. I'll save what I extract." She paused, hand resting gently on the sedated dog's head. "What happens to him after treatment?" "Evidence holding at animal control, I guess," Marcus said, but the words felt wrong even as he spoke them. The thought of this already traumatized animal confined to a concrete kennel made his chest tight. "This dog needs rehabilitation, Officer Reed. Not a cage." Dr. Klein's voice was firm but kind. "In my professional opinion, more confinement could destroy whatever trust he has left in humans." Marcus looked at the sleeping animal. "A pit bull mix," Dr. Klein had said, "probably around 3 years old." The rain had stopped by the time Marcus headed home, paperwork clutched in one hand. Dr. Klein had kept the dog overnight for surgery and treatment, promising to call with updates. The clock on his dashboard read 2:17 a.m. His apartment felt especially empty tonight. Boxes of Leah's possessions still sat in the spare room, things she deemed not worth taking when she'd decided a small-town cop with no ambition wasn't her future. Marcus had stopped noticing them months ago. Tonight, he closed the door firmly. Instead, he found himself clearing space in the living room, moving the coffee table to make room for a dog bed he didn't yet own. What was he thinking? He worked long shifts. He barely took care of himself some days. How could he rehabilitate a traumatized animal? And yet, as he finally fell into bed, Marcus found himself planning. He could request day shifts for a while. The dog would need special food, medication, training. It would be challenging, expensive, time-consuming. For the first time in months, Marcus fell asleep with a sense of purpose. Captain Frank Brenner stared at Marcus across his desk the next morning. 25 years on the force had left the captain with perpetually suspicious eyes and a pragmatic outlook that bordered on cynical. "Let me get this straight. You want to foster a stray dog that might be connected to the Elmwood break-ins because you feel sorry for it?" Marcus shifted in his chair. "Not just that, sir. The dog has evidence literally embedded in him." Dr. Klein removed glass fragments that matched the broken patio door at the Thompson house. Chemical burns from the bleach the perp used to clean the scenes. This dog was there. "And now you want to take him home?" "Under controlled conditions," Marcus clarified, straightening. "Dr. Klein says he needs constant care for those burns and the infection. And there's something else. I think this dog could identify our suspect." Brenner's eyebrows shot up. "You want to use a traumatized stray as a witness?" "Animals remember who hurts them, sir." Marcus leaned forward. "We've had 4 break-ins with no leads. Same MO, same missing items, same bleach cleanup. Someone's good enough to avoid cameras and leave no fingerprints. But they slipped up with this dog. This is highly irregular, Reed. So is our case clearance rate on these burglaries, sir." After a long moment, Brenner sighed. 2 weeks, Reed. After that, we reassess. And this is all off-book. Department doesn't need the liability if that animal bites someone. You're personally responsible." "Understood, sir. Thank you." "And Reed?" Brenner called as Marcus reached the door. "Don't name it. That's how you get attached." Marcus named him Chance. The name came to him as he drove to the clinic that afternoon, thinking about second chances and new beginnings. Dr. Klein handed over a bag of medications, special food, and a pile of care instructions along with the still sedated dog. "He'll be groggy for a while," she said. "Perfect time to establish your home as a safe space." The first night was rough. When Chance finally came out of sedation, he refused to enter the house, cowering on the porch until Marcus brought out blankets and slept there with him, hand extended for occasional nervous sniffs from the traumatized animal. "Baby steps," Marcus murmured as dawn broke and Chance accepted water from a bowl 2 feet away from where Marcus sat. The second night, they made it to the living room floor. Chance spent hours pressed into the corner, watching Marcus's every move. By midnight, exhaustion won, and the dog fell asleep, still vigilant even in dreams, paws twitching and soft whimpers escaping. Marcus called in sick the next day, the first time in 3 years. While Chance slept, Marcus transformed his apartment. He installed baby gates in doorways to create safe zones. He covered sharp furniture corners and moved fragile items to high shelves. He researched traumatized dog rehabilitation until his eyes burned. By the 5th day, Chance would allow Marcus to change his bandages without trembling. Progress came in small victories, each one celebrated quietly so as not to startle his nervous houseguest. The first tail wag, just a hesitant twitch when Marcus brought breakfast. The first time Chance accepted a treat from Marcus's hand rather than waiting for it to be placed on the floor. The night Chance chose to sleep at the foot of Marcus's bed rather than under it. The morning Marcus woke to find Chance's head resting cautiously on the edge of the mattress, amber eyes watching, waiting for rejection that wouldn't come. "You know you're late again," Officer Dawson commented when Marcus rushed into the precinct briefing room. "Captains noticed." "Had to give Chance his medication," Marcus said, sliding into a chair. His infections almost cleared up. "Chance? You named the evidence?" Before Marcus could respond, Captain Brenner entered. The morning briefing was routine until the end. "And our friends from Elmwood struck again last night," Brenner announced. "Lancaster residence on Oakwood Drive. Same MO, jewelry and electronics missing, evidence wiped clean." "Any witnesses?" Marcus asked. "Just a neighbor who thought she saw a van in the area, dark-colored, no plates visible." At the precinct, the other officers remained skeptical of Marcus's theory. "You're wasting resources on a mutt," Dawson complained during lunch break. "Meanwhile, we've got another break-in on Sycamore." "Same evidence wiped clean?" Marcus asked, reviewing the case files he'd spread across the break room table. "Yeah, guy's thorough." "Not thorough enough," Marcus muttered, thinking of the glass in Chance's paws and the rope burns around his neck. That evening, Marcus spread a map across his living room floor. Chance watched from his new bed, a proper one now, with orthopedic foam for his healing body. "Look at this, buddy," Marcus said, marking each burglary location with a red pin. 6 break-ins total. All houses set back from the road, all with at least an acre of land. All hit during evening hours when the owners were out. Chance's ears perked up at Marcus's voice, a development that still made Marcus smile each time. "And these 3 where we found evidence matching your injuries, all within the last month. You got away recently, didn't you?" Marcus reached out slowly, and Chance allowed a gentle stroke along his back. Another victory. "You're the only witness who's seen this guy's face." 2 weeks passed faster than Marcus expected. Chance's physical wounds healed gradually, the raw skin of his chemical burns giving way to pink scars hidden beneath slowly growing fur. His emotional wounds healed more slowly, but there were breakthroughs. The first bark, a surprise sound when a squirrel ran across the porch railing. The first play bow, awkward and hesitant, but unmistakable, when Marcus rolled a tennis ball across the living room floor. The first time Chance wagged his tail at the sight of the leash, eager for their increasingly lengthy walks around the quiet neighborhood. Marcus documented everything in a journal, part evidence log and part personal record. He took photos of Chance's healing progress and recorded his reactions to various stimuli. If this was going to work, if Chance was going to help catch the person who had hurt him, Marcus needed to be thorough. The captain called Marcus in exactly 2 weeks after their initial agreement. "Time's up, Reed." "Sir, we're making progress. Chance is starting to trust me and his health has improved significantly." Marcus placed a folder on Brenner's desk. "And I've been working a theory. I don't need theories. I need results. The chief is breathing down my neck about these break-ins. And you've been on reduced duties for 2 weeks playing dog sitter." "Give me 1 more week," Marcus insisted. "The Elmwood Sycamore burglar hits homes with at least an acre of land, targets jewelry and electronics, uses bleach to clean up, and strikes during community events when neighborhoods are empty." Brenner frowned. "Go on." "The Spring Festival is this weekend. Perfect opportunity. I want to stake out the Henderson property on Sycamore. It fits the pattern. Corner lot, set back from the road, wealthy owners who donate regularly to community events and will definitely attend the festival." "With the dog?" "Chance can identify him, sir. I'm sure of it. He has specific reactions to certain triggers. Vans, the smell of bleach, even particular types of work boots. If our perp shows up, Chance will know." Brenner leaned back, fingers steepled. "You sound like you've thought this through." "I have, sir." Marcus hesitated. "And there's something else. 2 of the victims reported strange calls before their break-ins. Someone claiming to be from a security company, asking about their alarm systems and when they'd be home. So he's casing the houses first." Yes, sir. I had dispatch pull phone records. 3 calls to the Henderson house this week, all from burner phones, all disconnected when Mrs. Henderson asked too many questions. After a long moment, Brenner nodded. One chance, Reed. But you're not going alone. Dawson goes with you. Sir, Dawson doesn't... Non-negotiable. Either he backs you up, or you're back on regular patrol and the dog goes to animal control. This is stupid, Dawson muttered, shifting in the passenger seat of Marcus's unmarked car. They were parked a block from the Henderson house, waiting for darkness. We could be at Donovan's right now. McCarthy's retirement party is tonight. You can still go, Marcus said, checking Chance's special vest. Not officially K9 unit gear, but similar enough to give him the appearance of authority. I can handle this, and let you take credit if you're right. No thanks. Dawson glanced at Chance, who sat alertly in the back seat. Besides, I want to see Dog Detective in action. The Henderson house stood dark against the twilight sky. Most of the neighborhood had emptied for the spring festival downtown, leaving streets quiet except for the distant sound of celebration. At 8:30, Marcus and Chance moved into position in the garden shed at the rear of the property, leaving Dawson to watch the front approach from the car. Your dog better not blow this, Dawson warned through the radio. I'm missing an open bar for this stakeout. Through the shed window, they had a clear view of the back patio doors, the burglar's preferred entry point according to the pattern Marcus had identified. For an hour, nothing happened. Easy, boy, Marcus whispered as Chance's ears suddenly perked up. The dog had been restless for the past few minutes, pacing the small space. Then Marcus heard it too, the faint scrape of metal on glass. Chance's body went rigid, a low growl vibrating through him. Show me, Marcus breathed, unclipping the leash. Chance moved silently toward the door, every muscle tense. Marcus followed, gun drawn. Outside, a figure in dark clothing was working at the patio door with a glass cutter, methodical, practiced. Dawson, suspect at rear patio doors, Marcus whispered into his radio. Moving to intercept. No response. Dawson, copy. Static answered him. Marcus made a split-second decision. Police! Freeze! He called, stepping into the open. The figure spun, and in the split second before he bolted, Chance erupted into frenzied barking. It wasn't the controlled warning of a police dog, but the primal reaction of a creature confronting its abuser. The man's face, visible briefly in the security lights, registered shock, then fury. You! He hissed, and Chance's barking intensified. The suspect fled toward the woods behind the property. Marcus pursued, Chance a blur of movement ahead of him. They crashed through underbrush, the gap closing until the man glanced back and stumbled over an exposed root. As he scrambled up, he pulled something from his pocket. The knife flashed in the moonlight as the suspect slashed wildly. Marcus felt a burning pain across his forearm, his gun falling into the leaves. Chance, back! Marcus shouted, clutching his bleeding arm as the man lunged again, this time aiming higher. But Chance didn't retreat. 70 pounds of focused fury slammed into the attacker, teeth locking onto the arm that held the knife. Man and dog tumbled to the ground in a chaotic struggle. Police! Drop your weapon! Dawson's voice cut through the night as he crashed through the trees, gun drawn. The struggle ceased, the man pinned beneath Chance's determined hold. Blood seeped through the sleeve where Chance's teeth maintained their grip, not crushing, not maiming, just immobilizing. Good boy, Marcus gasped, retrieving his weapon with his uninjured arm. You can let go now. I've got him. Chance held on until handcuffs clicked into place, eyes never leaving the face of his former tormentor. Julian Mercer, Captain Brenner announced at the station, reading from the arrest report. 38, former security system installer with priors for burglary in 2 states, currently unemployed. Marcus nodded, wincing as the department medic finished bandaging his arm. Chance sat beside him, calm now but vigilant, his vest still identifying him as part of the operation. We found a van registered to his girlfriend parked 3 blocks away, Brenner continued, full of stolen merchandise. And guess what was in the back? A stake, chain, muzzle, and bleach. He was keeping Chance tied up outside while he robbed the houses, Marcus explained. If anyone approached while he was inside, Chance would bark. But Chance got away during the Thompson job, probably cut himself on the broken glass trying to escape. And Mercer's been looking for him ever since to make sure he didn't lead anyone back. Brenner nodded. Smart thinking, Reed. What about the cut on Reed's arm? Dawson asked from where he leaned against the wall. Assaulting an officer should add some years to his sentence. Along with animal cruelty, Dr. Klein added. She had arrived at the station when Marcus called about Chance's involvement in the arrest. I've documented all of Chance's injuries. They'll make a compelling case. Marcus looked down at Chance, who sat alertly at his feet, the scars on his flank still visible, but his eyes now clear and steady. It wasn't me, sir. It was him. He just needed someone to listen. Spring faded into summer. The Elmwood Sycamore burglary case made headlines, particularly the role played by a former stray dog in capturing the criminal. Julian Mercer took a plea deal, 15 years for multiple counts of burglary, destruction of property, animal cruelty, and assaulting an officer. The evidence was overwhelming once they matched the glass in Chance's paws to 3 crime scenes and the rope found in Mercer's van to the fibers on Chance's neck. For Marcus, the aftermath brought unexpected changes. His apartment, once a shrine to loneliness, became a home again. Chance's bed migrated from the corner to beside Marcus's own. The spare room, finally emptied of Leah's boxes, became a project room where Marcus built obstacle courses and training equipment. He's not the same dog, Dr. Klein remarked during Chance's checkup. Look at his muscle definition, his coat, and his eyes. There's trust there now. He's still got his quirks, Marcus admitted. He hates vans, freaks out at the smell of bleach, and sometimes he still has nightmares. But most days are good now. And you? She asked. You seem different too. Marcus thought about it. I guess we healed each other. By fall, word had spread throughout the department. Officers who had once mocked Reed's rescue project now stopped by his desk to share dog treats and training tips. Even Dawson, the most skeptical of all, had taken to bringing tennis balls for Chance when the dog accompanied Marcus to the station. Don't get me wrong, Dawson said one afternoon as they watched Chance methodically retrieve a ball in the precinct parking lot. He's still just a mutt, but he's a mutt with guts. Coming from Dawson, it was high praise. The idea came from an unexpected source. Marcus was filling out paperwork when Captain Brenner stopped by his desk, watching Chance doze peacefully at Marcus's feet. Have you considered making this official? Brenner asked. Sir? The dog, making him official. Not as a K9 unit, he's not trained for that, but maybe something else. 2 weeks later, Marcus found himself researching therapy dog certification and community policing initiatives. Chance, it seemed, had a natural empathy for people in distress, perhaps born from his own trauma. During a domestic call, he had immediately gravitated to a frightened child, offering silent comfort that accomplished what the officers could not. Winter came, bringing with it the 6-month anniversary of the night Marcus had found Chance huddled beneath the street lamp. They celebrated with a special dinner, steak for both of them, and a new toy that Chance systematically disemboweled within an hour. That night, scrolling through photos on his phone, Marcus paused on one from those early days. Chance cowering in the corner of the living room, eyes wide with fear. He compared it to the dog now sprawled across the couch beside him, head heavy on Marcus's lap, snoring softly. You've come a long way, buddy, he whispered. The next day, Marcus stood before the police commission, Chance sitting proudly beside him in a new custom vest emblazoned with Therapy K9 and the department insignia. Officer Reed, Commissioner Wallace began, while we cannot officially recognize a former stray as a police service animal without standard training certification, the Commission acknowledges the extraordinary circumstances of this case, particularly in light of the successful conclusion of the Elmwood Sycamore burglaries and the community response to... He checked his notes. Officer Chance. A murmur of amusement rippled through the room. The department has agreed to fund specialized training for Officer Chance Reed to serve as a community outreach and support animal. This is a pilot program, the first of its kind in our district, focusing on victim support, community relations, and school education initiatives. Applause filled the room. Dr. Klein, seated in the front row, gave a thumbs up. Dawson, standing at the back, offered a grudging nod. Additionally, the commissioner continued once the applause died down, we are instituting a new division within animal control, focused on rehabilitation of abused animals and potential service training. Dr. Klein has agreed to oversee this program, which will be partially funded by the assets seized in the Mercer case. More applause, louder this time. Outside the building, Marcus knelt to adjust Chance's vest, making sure the badge, a smaller replica of his own, sat straight on the chest piece. Not bad for a couple of strays, huh? Chance's tail wagged as he pressed his head against Marcus's chest, a gesture that had become their private communication, their way of saying everything without words. From frightened and broken to trusted partner, Chance had transformed, and so had Marcus. That night, they drove home together, equal partners in the front seat. Marcus's apartment building came into view, the place he now thought of as their home, not just his. At a red light, he scratched behind Chance's ears, thinking of how close they'd both come to missing this second chance. "Home?" he asked. Chance's tail thumped against the seat, the sound of complete and unconditional trust. As they climbed the stairs to their apartment, Marcus noticed a familiar figure waiting by his door. Dr. Klein smiled as they approached. "I thought you might want to see these," she said, handing him a manila envelope. The before and after pictures for the department newsletter article. Pretty remarkable. Marcus flipped through them, clinical photos documenting Chance's injuries and recovery. The final picture caught his breath. Chance, in his new vest, sitting tall beside Marcus, amber eyes clear and confident. "You know," Dr. Klein said as she turned to leave, "when you brought him in that night, I wasn't sure he'd make it. Too much trauma, too much betrayal, but you proved something important." "What's that?" She smiled. "That there's no such thing as a lost cause, just souls waiting for someone to believe in them." After she left, Marcus and Chance settled into their evening routine, dinner, a short walk, then relaxing on the couch. As the local news played softly in the background, a story about the new police therapy dog program flashed across the screen. Chance's ears perked up at the sound of his own bark from the recorded interview. Marcus laughed. "Local celebrity now, are we?" Chance responded by dropping his favorite tattered toy in Marcus's lap, an invitation to play that would have been unthinkable 6 months ago. Outside, rain began to fall, not unlike the night they'd first met. But this time, they were both safe, both home, both healed by the simple miracle of second chances. "We did it, buddy," Marcus whispered as Chance finally drifted to sleep beside him. "We both made it through the storm."